Perfect. Well, hello, this is our project presentation in the best hospital, and it is about predicting attrition at hospitals, a hospital called the best hospital. Our team, the team is formed by me as a researcher, by Rene, our writer, Colton, our analyst and team leader, and Jennifer, our analyst. The problem. Although the best hospital has relatively low attrition, it wants to get proactive and go ahead and solving a rapidly increasing problem that's attrition at hospitals. It is known to be an ongoing national problem, and it is also known to be aggressive and more aggressive in low-income jobs at hospitals, such as nursing. It's also created various problems in hospitals. The first one is it's creating a lack of appropriate staffing that leads to bed closures and less availability in hospitals. It also creates unnecessary problems as budgetary constraints for the number of new personnel and overall expenses in onboarding for new personnel and the changing of personnel. It also creates extra costs in recruiting staff and new staff and training them.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Juan Pablo. So as Juan Pablo mentioned, this is a national issue. And what we found is that the rate of employee attrition in hospitals is significantly increasing. So between 2019 and 2021, it's increased from 17.8% to 25.9%. Over 2021, that's over a 6% increase in the rate of attrition. Research has also shown that it's not just nurses and the nursing shortage that's affecting hospitals. So there are a lot of different people who work in hospitals, and they're all leaving at progressively higher rates. Physical therapists have a 13.6 attrition rate in 2021, nurses 27.1. Patient care technicians actually had an attrition rate of 38.1%, which is huge. Additionally, hiring new staff hasn't been able to mitigate the issue because new hires are actually leaving at a faster rate than hospitals are able to hire them. 31.7% of new hires left their role after 1 year in 2021, unfortunately. We've also found that new hires are leaving at a high rate, but they're leaving voluntarily. And it's not just new hires, it's everyone. So 96% of terminations at hospitals were voluntary terminations. And so our goal is to look and see if we can identify why people are choosing to leave.
Thanks so much, Renee. There's a few particular identified causes that our research has turned up that we're paying attention to. Things like work environment, which might include employee morale, management issues, the amount of time they have to spend on non-clinical tasks. But significantly, as Juan Pablo had mentioned, income is a factor that we have to pay attention to, as well as career frustration, and especially the sense of stress that healthcare workers are facing and how that leads to potential burnout while on the job. Certainly, that survey came in 2016, and in the past couple of years, we can assume that that sense of stress and burnout has only been on the rise. But at that time, 67% of surveyed healthcare workers had been screening positive for burnout. We're more likely to have burnout in a patient-facing role, and we have found that burnout is also associated with attrition based on that research. So our goal as the best hospital is to get ahead of the issue in the setting of rising national attrition and to analyze which factors are most significantly contributing to higher levels of attrition, especially focusing on the factors that we are able to modify and change and potentially improve our standing when it comes to attrition. We'd also like to predict which current workers are highly likely to leave the hospital so that we can plan to improve retention strategies based on identified factors we found in our first goal.
Great, thank you, Colton. The data set that we chose is from the IBM Watson Health, publicly available. It is a synthetic de-identified data set. This summarizes data from over 1,600 healthcare workers and includes several variables that we will deep dive and focus into during our next steps. One thing that Renee mentioned as part of our research and we have been exploring is the variable of income and how income drives attrition rates. So we did some quick explorations into the data set and created this histogram, which highlights how the monthly income of an individual may influence their attrition. So you can quickly see that the attrition rate is skewed left at the lower income, although there are many more individuals who are at that lower income. The other thing to identify is at the very high incomes, there is little to no attrition. So we'll definitely deep dive into this as one of our variables of focus on later explorations. Furthermore, there are a myriad of different variables that could influence the attrition rate for the healthcare industry. And those range, you can see quickly on this heat map, those range from both the job function that you have as well as demographics at the home life and other factors that come into that. So we will definitely focus on what you can visually see here, but what the data tells us as to how those correlations might play out. So that leads us to our next steps. So first, we would definitely do the exploratory data analysis. We then want to establish a scope and develop a business case for what we want to tackle as part of the overall project and deliverable. From there, we'll be able to do the model and analysis, and then our ultimate goal is to package everything up as a visual report, as well as a final paper or a white paper as that final deliverable.
And lastly, we just wanted to include the references that we had as part of this early stage research that we talked about throughout the presentation. Thanks very much for listening in.